The fate of Western Cape Premier Helen Zille hangs in the balance. This follows her tweets praising colonialism. A heated debate ensued on Tuesday in the provincial legislature. The ANC and EFF members of the provincial legislature are calling for Helen Zille's removal. However, the Western Cape Premier defends her tweets praising colonialism and accuses her critics of having a political agenda. Meanwhile, the row puts pressure on DA leader Mmusi Maimane to take action. Commentators say Helen Zille's stance could undermine black support for the party. She has already appeared before the Democratic Alliance's Legal Commission. The DA's Federal Executive Council is expected to meet over the weekend to discuss the matter.
It is the greatest tragedy today, 23 years into democracy, Speaker, that race has become South Africa's predominant reference point. More than that, Julius Malema has generously reminded us that the EFF is not yet calling for whites to be slaughtered. There was a ripple of anger about this, but nothing like the response to my simple statement of fact. There has been a lot of sophistry, even from some intelligent critics, drawing loony analogies between what I said and the Autobahn's relationship to Nazism. In the 1980s, when I was one of its ardent supporters, I realized that the ANC had two camps. One racial nationalist, the other Marxist. There was no space for people who believed in non-racialism, an open society, and a market economy. That is why I joined the DP, and today am in the DA. We can't shut down this debate. It is one we need to have, so that we do not slip further down this scapegoating slope. I'm glad my tweet brought it to the surface, because it is indeed of urgent national importance.
The national DA leader has said that he finds those comments problematic and that Premier Zille is going to face some kind of hearing within the DA. And so I think that insofar as what's going to happen next, it's going to be about what will be the balance of forces in the DA's Federal Congress with regard to this issue. And number two, how will all the different groupings and members of the DA respond to whatever happens within that judicial or disciplinary committee? You have a case where leaders often use rhetoric off the cuff, in the sense that they make certain pronouncements, statements, comments, and so forth, whether it's public or whether it's in a tweet or whether it's in a press conference, that is ill-considered and that doesn't take into account what the possible consequences might be outside of what they are thinking. Senior party leaders of very large organizations make some kind of error or make some kind of judgment error. Usually the trend has been that they face very little sanction. I mean, if you look at the current ANC president, for example, and you look at all of his actions, or you look at the actions of former ANC presidents or cabinet ministers, or even when you've had DA leaders that have made errors, I think that the kind of sanctions you find are not that severe because the costs of sanctioning a party leader in a competitive environment is very, very high.
Twitter is abuzz over the Western Cape Premier Helen Zille's tweets and her defense of colonialism. A tweet from @Alfred States X says, "I almost feel sorry for all those who made fools of themselves by attacking Zille." Well, almost. And this tweet refers to Zille's mention of a speech by the late Nelson Mandela, where he described a positive aspect of British colonialism. Unsociable Soul @David_Nifty says, "If Helen Zille believes colonization wasn't that bad, would she like to be colonized by blacks?" And Bravo 1 tweets, in context of Zille's life work against racial injustice, you have to give it a more sympathetic interpretation. A number of Twitter users retweeted Helen Zille's defense of a colonialism tweet is no different from a guy who rapes a woman and says, be grateful you have a child. And then Carla Sala says, I really hope Helen Zille, etc., all keep their traps shut for the next 72 hours. Concept 65 tweets, so our DA has still not instituted disciplinary measures against their racist Zille. She seems emboldened by now. And joining us live in studio is Walter Lukhuleni, Secretary for Publicity for the Pan-Africanist Congress. We have Mosiri Tsiane, Chairperson of the South African Liberty Foundation, and Mosiri Attorneys. On the line is Zizi Kodwa, ANC National Spokesperson, and Refule Ntsege, the DA National Spokesperson. Zizi, good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us. Just your response from what transpired yesterday.
Is that Helen Zille is a bookaboo. She must be poo-pooed. I think she's in violation of the oath of office. She's in violation of the Constitution of the Republic, because when she took oath, she claimed that she will defend the Constitution, because for her to praise colonialism, it is in violation of South Africa's democratic constitution, which is called the Bill of Rights, that she promotes undermining human rights of other people, and therefore she has no moral authority to be a leader under a democratic state. But more importantly, is that she is in breach of the Constitution.
Okay, so just stay on the line for me, Zizi, please. We have Refule Ntsege. Thanks so much, Refule, for your time. A good evening as well. There seems to be differing voices coming from the DA as to how to handle the manner and the fallout of the colonialization or colonialism tweets. Zizi saying that she violated her oath of office. We saw MPLs of the EFF and ANC calling for Helen Zille to be recalled. Will there be action taken at, just from your view, and with the balance of forces within the party?
Good evening, Cindy, and your viewers. I'm a bit surprised that people are commenting on the fact that there's no action from the DA. I think our leader was very strong and said he's already referred the matter to our SLC, which basically handles all our disciplinary measures. And like in any political party, when there's disciplinary process going on, we choose to respect that internal process and not preempt the outcome of that process. So I think it's premature, even for the likes of Zizi Kodwa, to come on TV and go and talk about how the DA is not acting when we have our own internal disciplinary process. We don't interfere with theirs when they take their own members into a disciplinary hearing. And I think the same respect should be given to the DA to continue with their own disciplinary process. And then from there, once the disciplinary process is completed, the DA will obviously publicly come out and announce the sanctions and the decision of the party in terms of how it handles the Premier of the Western Cape.
And for me, we have a caller, Tato. Good evening to you. Thanks for calling. Hi, Tato.
I'm fine.
All right, just a response from you, gentlemen, in the studio. Does it come across that Helen Zille is more defiant, or is it still a justification of what has clearly been in bad taste?
Good evening, Cindy, and to your viewers. As the PAC, we expected this kind of reaction. Helen Zille is the power behind the throne. This is actually not a test for Helen Zille's position, it's a test for Mmusi Maimane. Can he actually make good his threats, his disgusts? Because now, the only thing that he can do, if he can't get rid of Helen Zille, he has to resign himself as Mmusi Maimane. Because he can't be in a party that promotes colonialism and is a victim of colonialism, you know? I think what Helen Zille doesn't seem to appreciate is that colonialism is the foundation of apartheid. You cannot support a piece of an oppressive system and then say that it had good things, you know.
Walter, just hold on. I believe Tato is back with us. Good evening to you, Tato.
How are you, man?
Hi, Tato.
Hi. Hello.
We can't get through to Tato. Mosiri, just what Walter was saying in terms of the foundations of apartheid, that being colonialism, that there's really, from a black perspective, even worse so, that you can appreciate from it. And we see Helen Zille essentially trying to defend her position and saying the objectives were reached, in that now we're debating the whole colonialism aspect and experience.
No, it simply means one thing. When, colonialism at its own core, it's a crime against humanity. We are in a worse state that we are in as a human, particularly as a race, a black race in South Africa. Apartheid has brought us so much misery. Our minerals at large, the land that we own, we have nothing on it. In actual fact, we own nothing in this land of South Africa. We own no minerals underneath. Now, the same sentiment uttered by Helen herself are similarly to the same sentiment that would have been uttered by Verwoerd, as far as we're concerned. When he sees us as nothing else but monkeys. Most of the members of the DA have seen monkeys on us. In actual fact, it says to you that when Zille look at all of us, he says, you are better off because we were here. You are humans. You can even drive cars. You have a system that is designed by us. In actual fact, you are nothing. All of you are nothing. You are less of human beings. Once somebody embraces such a mentality and come out in the fore and speak with ease in this country and tell us that we are nothing.
Yeah, Mosiri, I believe our guest on the line pressed for time, so I'll just quickly refer to you the response from our panelists, and then we'll come to you, Zizi. Just please hold on. Refilwe? Okay, I believe Refilwe is also not there. Zizi, you still with us?
Yes, I'm with you. I think is to fool ourselves to think that the Democratic Alliance will take any actions against Helen Zille, because the so-called action, it is nothing else but a ballyhoo. It's an expensive publicity exercise. It's a PR. You must remember, this is not the first time. You have Mike Walters, who said 2014 election after 2014 election, when ANC won overwhelmingly, people who voted in the ANC were dogs. He apologized. He's a member of parliament. He's sitting in Cape Town. We have Cora Barnett, who called every name and prayed for apartheid architect Verwoerd to come back. She's in parliament. She was fined a mere 20,000. You have everybody coming from the Democratic Alliance who praised the past, the latest being praising of colonialism. There's nothing that is going to happen because the power behind the throne is the madam herself. There is no way that all the slaves, and including the appendages, like Musimaimane, would want to take any action against the master.
I'm just going to try Refilwe again. Refilwe Ntsakhe is the DA national spokesperson. We're hoping to get her on the line. But while we're at it, Zizi, there's also accusation that the ANC is now being opportunistic and interfering with the DA processes by not allowing their disciplinary action to proceed. Zizi? Okay, he's also gone. But does she still have the moral authority to rule the party in light of the reaction, not only on social media, but the impact that it's left, the glaring impression that the DA is racist and holds up these values of being superior to black people?
I think, Cindy, she's lost all moral authority. She should have been gone. Immediately that came out, she should have been gone. But I think the bigger question is, does the DA actually have the moral authority to be in power in the Western Cape, for example? She was the one who said people who moved from the Eastern Cape, sending their kids to the Western Cape, were migrants in their own country.
Refugees.
Yes. He called them refugees. I don't think she, as a person, has the moral authority. She always uses this nefarious argument that she was in the struggle because she interviewed Bantu Bigo. But did she actually, was she interviewing Bantu Bigo because she loved him? Or she was there to actually gloat on the death of that person? It calls into question her morality. If she came across Bantu Bigo in the correct sense, she wouldn't be the way she is.
Well, if you talk about the political credentials, let's just scrutinize what the DA has done in terms of removing colonial structures that still prevent black people from progress in this country?
No, the key question is, why was DA formed? Why was DA there in the first place? The answer is very simple: to protect white monopoly control of South Africa, to ensure that that the gains that they have made as colonialists, the proud colonist that she is, remain intact, that there's no change, that South African blacks remains who they are, the monkeys that they are, the baboons that they are, and that they remain the most civilized persons that they are. That's what DA was initially formulated on. Now, surely for now, there is nothing, no policy from the DA that seems to be in line or in an advancement of black, particular South Africans. There is no policy from the DA. There is no gains that they have made, particularly even in the Western Cape that they lead. You go to the Western Cape, they have their own miseries that you could see, which I wasn't. In Western Cape, it's actually, you can see how far apart that we are. In the leadership, the very same DA. They do not have any program whatsoever. So, yes, the DA was only created to maintain the status quo.
All right, Jay, might just differ with you. Jay is calling us from Durban. Good evening to you, Jay. Hello, Jay.
Good evening.
Hi.
Yes, I can hear you, and the other guy is still speaking there.
No, we just seem to be having gremlins in the system. So please, before you get cut off, Jay, what's your comment or question?
Actually, it's not a question, it's a comment. If we look at it logically and practically, what is causing more harm in this country? Just the other day, Zuma recalled Kevin Gordon from his road show, and that made the rand go up and up. Zille's words, they were just merely words. They're not going to affect any reality in our country. It is that the current government, the ANC government, and Zuma, the M, they are causing the problems, real problems. Now, the past can't come on us, and the ANC must stop using the past as an excuse for the current inefficiency.
All right, Jay,
country right.
All right, just stay on the line, Jay, because many would disagree with you that the compromise of the Truth and Reconciliation process in itself was very much one-sided, that the oppressors were given an opportunity to present a case, essentially saying sorry and moving on, that even today the manifestation of apartheid regime principles still stand by virtue of the inequality that we have. So let's not miss the point and also grandstand. I mean, I don't know what your view.
My point is that all these secondary things are taking center stage and while this is happening, the country is going from bad to worse. And that it doesn't take a rocket scientist to sort of find that out. We all evoke racism. We don't like racism. Racism is gone, right? But the practice of racism is still prevalent, and that is not such an important thing as the other issues. The dying, today the rand went right up.
All right, Jay, thanks so much for your call. I try not to keep it at one thought at a time so we don't confuse the issues, but on your view from what the caller said.
The caller is living in so-called the white dream land, where everything seems to be perfect. You know, you hear somebody who's a South African says things are getting worse. When were they ever better for us? The poverty that we're in continuously, that we're staying as blacks, what's getting better for us? In actual fact, you ask the core question in here, what is it that the DA and its moral authority that can do for black South Africans? What is it that it can do to uplift the economy of South Africa, to change our lives? In actual fact, when you say things are getting worse, better from when? It was better for us when?
Yeah, Joe Taylor is calling us from Paarl. Good evening to you, Joe, first-time caller. Welcome to the show. Hi, Joe.
Hello?
Joe, can you hear me? There you are. Good evening.
Okay, now, all I wanted to say, I don't want to make a contribution because I'm not a politician, But it's sad for me that we're standing at this point where the black people have governed the country 25 years and the white people must get the credit for what they did up to that point in time with the support of the black people. And now the black people obviously will take the country further with the support of the white people. And there's nothing wrong with that.
My goodness, Joe, should I call you Bas, Joe? The fact that this
we must build a new country.
Glenn Obas, with all due respect, if you're saying that, the white people so benevolently gave over colonialism in a sense and apartheid, we should be grateful and move on merrily into the sunset. And I think that denialism is what's problematic.
We must move on. There's, we are successful up to this point in time to a certain degree. And the white people must now support the black people to take this country to the level where it is still respected by the international community.
All right, Joe, Taylor and Paul, thank you so much. So how do white people then support black people going forward if we base it on the tweets of Western Cape Premier?
I think he's correct because he comes from the narrative that says blacks are inferior. So if you look it from that angle, he is correct to say the whites must support the blacks. Because to him, we are an inferior nation. So they should actually be babysitting us to some panacea of land. So from his perspective, he's correct. But obviously, it comes back to the compromises that were made in 94. The white minority, the majority in that minority, is not grateful for the fact that we could have actually moved to the stage where we were clear to say, you were oppressors, we were oppressed, now it's your turn to get arrested, we're locking you up for all. Look, even the TRC didn't even touch base with the kind of oppression that we have. As we speak now, we've got people who could not be buried, dead people who could not be buried in white cemeteries.
Yeah, Walter, just hold on, please. Pat, you're calling us from Botswana, the Kingdom of Botswana. Good evening to you, and thanks so much for joining us.
Good evening.
Hi, Pat.
I was just thinking that on this apartheid thing, or rather colonialism, we should look at it not only in the context and perspective of Africa only. We should look at it in the perspective of the whole world. Right now, if you look at people who are displaced, who are in America, just to give example, you go to Jamaica, you find Africans there. That is slavery, and that is part of colonialism. So I think Zille is good that she came forth, because that's exactly what a lot of other people are thinking, that they are better than blacks, and they want to maintain the status quo in that sense. So now it is upon blacks themselves, because they were affected and infected by colonialism, to do something about it. I've had opportunity to speak to a lot of blacks. I come from South Africa originally, and I was displaced also. When you talk to Africans, even the two gentlemen or the three plus the lady, you talk them about the land. They don't understand the land, because they would understand probably a car and a house. But out in the farms, they don't understand it. Those are the results of colonialism.
Pat from Gaborone, thank you so much. I'm sorry I'm going to have to cut it off there, but that's all the time we have. We'll take a quick ad break and we'll be right back. We have Walter Lukuleni, Secretary for Publicity at the PAC, and Mosire Tsiane, Chairperson of Mosire Attorney.